everyone.
Hi, everyone. We're just getting started. Welcome, welcome, welcome. You guys all submitted amazing questions, so we
Yes.
compiled them together into themes, and there's 6 good themes that all the questions kind of were around, and we'll
Yeah.
take turns answering each set of questions. So I think we should jump in because we've already
Yeah.
got a lot of people in, and
Yeah.
moms will join when their kids go to sleep, and we're
Yes.
recording this. We'll post it live when it's over. So it's going to
Yeah.
be
If you have to hop off, no worries. I'll post it on my YouTube the beginning of next week. So you can replay
okay.
it.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's go. I'm excited. And yeah,
Yay.
we are watching the names of who's attending. At the end, we're going to pick a name. They're going to get the raffle gift that we
Yes.
cute. It's from Sam's Surro Shop. So all that stuff's so cute there.
Yeah. Really
Um,
fun.
okay, so let's jump in. You guys know who Sam is. She needs no introduction.
Yes. But you, Megan.
Yes, some people might not know who I am. I am the owner of Your Fertility Advocate Surrogacy Agency. Sam did her last journey through our agency. We did the Blessed with a Baby journey together with Jake and Kinsey. It was all sorts of magical.
Yes.
And then, very exciting, is we're now co-founders together
Hmm.
of a company called Make Families. So
Yeah.
technically, this session tonight is a Make Families info session. We launched Make Families recently,
Hmm.
and some people are kind of a little bit confused, like, what is Make Families? Is it
Yeah.
another agency? But all it really was is that when you did your beautiful Blessed with a Baby journey, so many thousands of women like reached out to
So
our
many.
agency and they said, we want to get started. How do we get started? And we're a tiny agency, we're boutique. We don't take on, we're not one of these enormous corporate agencies. So we
Yeah.
had a lot of overflow ladies that we just couldn't get matched and going in a timely way. And so
Mhm.
Make Families was created to help them find a different agency that's still reputable, that's going to do a great
Mhm.
job, but will get them matched and going quicker than they
Yeah.
would if like waited for Your Fertility Advocate to match them.
Yes.
So yeah, so it's easy. It's fun. We've got a small staff that you apply with, turn in your application. We do a quick interview with you at Make Families, and then we will kind of depending on where you live and what you're looking for in a journey, place you with a great agency that we
Mhm.
have vetted, as Make Families staff has vetted,
Yeah.
and that we think that they are ethical, they follow ASRM guidelines, they're going to take care of you, and we try to kind of help you kind of find the personality because agencies are different. Like, they're
Mhm.
all different. They all have different vibes, and we want you matched and having a great journey. So
Mhm.
that's why Make Families is here. It's going really
Yes.
well. We've already got a lot of homes for
Yeah.
very,
In like 2 short months, we've
yeah,
matched so many surrogates. It's
yeah,
awesome.
yeah, it's been great. So we're going to do these info sessions once a month because we were having so many questions, just general
Yeah.
questions about surrogacy, more specific things. So we're going to just compile these questions and do it. So let's jump into the questions you guys gave us this month. Sam, you take it away first because
Sounds good.
yeah, these first group are for you.
All right. So the first question is, how do you prepare your kids for surrogacy? So whenever we first started, our kiddos were like 3 and 4, so they were pretty young. And depending on what age your kids are, obviously, how you can explain it to them will be different. But I'll just give you from our experience. Our kids, whenever Canyon was younger and we brought Ember home, he wasn't old enough to realize like bringing home a baby or what that was like. And so whenever we told them, we just said, mommy and daddy have some friends that can't have a baby. Don't you think it would be nice to help them have a baby? Like, would that be nice for mommy to do? And they were like, oh, yeah. And they didn't. So we never said the words brother or sister. We always said that the baby in mommy's belly was for this couple. And it really helped that they got to meet the couple ahead of time. So they knew like their names and a little bit about them, that they knew the baby that the doctor was putting in mommy's belly was for them. And so we just framed it that way, like just to always direct it to them and not take the attention on or not put the attention on me and then the fact that like baby's coming home with us, but just reiterate every time it's their baby and the baby's for them. And then just share, if they're a little bit older, share our heart behind it of like why we want to help someone in this way. Mommy and daddy love you guys so much, and some people really want a baby, but they can't have one, but they want the relationship that we have with you with their children. And so we want to help them have a baby. And so that's kind of like how we phrased it. Is that kind of generally what you hear?
I think it's beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the next question, was your husband on board right away, or did it take some convincing? You guys know I've shared a lot about Dan and our side of the journey. I wouldn't say he wasn't fully on board at the beginning because he didn't know what surrogacy was. He was like, "We're not giving our baby away." And I was like, "Well, it's not our baby. As gestational carrier, I explained that it's their egg, their sperm, or donor egg and sperm, but I just carry." And I was like, like a cinnamon roll, like a bun in the oven type of thing. And then we just passed the baby off, and he was like, "Okay." So once I explained it to him, it took him a little bit to like process it and pray about it. And then we came to talk about it together again. And then I think after he heard my heart, he like understood it and was okay on board. And I would like to bring him in. Come here.
I feel like you
Only
answered it all the way.
no, but this is the one thing. Everyone welcome Dan.
What's up?
This is the one thing because I do have a lot of surrogates will say like, "Hey, I really want to become a surrogate, but my husband isn't on board and my husband doesn't want me to." Like, how could you answer that? Or like, what would your encouragement be to someone who wants to be a surrogate, but their husband's not on board?
I mean, for me, it was all about communication because
Mhm.
initially I didn't understand
Yeah.
surrogacy at all. I didn't know this was a thing.
Mhm.
And so when you first brought it up to me, there was a lot of confusion. But over the course of a couple days, we talked about it. You walked through a lot of different things.
Mhm.
We checked out websites. We looked at other Q&As as
Mhm.
well because a lot of the concerns that people had and a lot of the main questions that we got
You.
about
Mm.
how do your kids deal with it.
Mhm.
Um,
Postpartum transition.
exactly. Like, are you going to be okay
Mhm.
giving this baby up even though you've carried it? Like, what's that going to do to you? And so, once those initial questions were answered for
Mhm.
me, it was way easier to get on board.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of hesitancy with things that you don't know. Um,
Mhm.
the unknown's scary, and
Yeah.
so the more informed that I was, the more excited I got for you to do it
Yeah.
and to walk through it with you.
There you go. Share your heart with your husband and also educate him because they don't know.
Yeah,
Thank
true
you.
Yep.
story. True story. I had a husband ask me if they injected the embryo in his wife's arm.
Yes. Oh my gosh, because they just don't know. Like, I mean, honestly, some surrogates starting out, we don't know the full process too, especially if it's our first journey. And so we're learning at the same time, but research it together, talk about it together, pray about it together, and then, make a decision together. Because ultimately you need your husband, your spouse's support. Because we'll get into that, but it's a lot emotionally and physically, and you want them on board.
Yeah.
Okay. How do you prepare to not take the baby home? I've shared heavily on this too. Emotionally going into it, or like mentally, going into it, the baby's not yours, but your body doesn't understand that sometimes. And so you have to kind of not trick it, but like you have to prepare for it. So for us, the first time we wanted to hit the road in the RV and like travel and spend time together as a family because I really wanted to focus on like being together and like taking the time to like love on the kids that we have instead of looking at as like something that I lost, looking at as something that I gained. You can do that. And that was one thing that I heavily researched when I first started surrogacy because I wanted to make sure that I was like prepared that you going home to nothing, no baby, and then if your kids are gone and your husband's gone and you're home alone in your thoughts, it can kind of be a lot. And so plan like something fun for you, whether it's a shopping spree or whether it's like, you guys are going on a family vacation or you're getting a new dog or you're like redoing your house, just something that you can look forward to so that postpartum emotions and just like emotionally, mentally, you have something to like look towards and put your energy towards rather than just feeling alone, if that makes
Yeah.
sense. So a
And
lot
so,
of mental preparation.
yeah. And so when you're healing after delivering a baby that you didn't take home, yes, your body feels like it delivered a baby, but mentally, did you feel like I just lost my baby? Or did you know in your mind, I didn't lose my baby? This was never
Yeah.
my baby.
Yes, exactly. I never, and that's one thing throughout the course of the journey. It's like you constantly tell yourself, this baby's for someone else. And like, that's never my role to fill is to be this child's mother. Like, never, that's disrespectful to the parents of the baby, but it's also not a good place for me to be. And so every milestone and every exciting thing, I was constantly like, oh my gosh, I'm excited for Jake and Kinsey. I'm excited for these parents that, um, it just strengthens your mind. And yeah, I never looked at it that I was going home with nothing. And on that, like I gave myself something to focus on. And so for me last journey, it was pumping. Like I loved pumping journey, and even though it was like 4 short months, I got to, instead of like nurturing a baby, I like nurtured myself and like still like just focused on that because that's part of our postpartum healing. But I just focused on myself rather than a baby. So, but for each person, it's different. The healing process is different, but it is you have to prepare for it and you have to like plan for it, or else it'll kind of catch you off guard in your thoughts, on
Yeah.
one hard day or something.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
how do you handle super religious family who aren't on board surrogacy? I feel like for me, what I got was more so like my grandparents who were just, a little bit older and they didn't fully understand like why we were making this decision or kind of who like why do that, but also, it's just not something that they knew when they were younger. But super religious, thankfully, all of like our church family, our pastors have been so supportive. But I have heard so many of you are my DMs saying, like, our pastors don't want us to come back to church, or we have people at church that are like saying things and you're playing God. And it's very like disheartening to hear because on my end, and this is the only way that I can explain it, is like God is a very pro-life God. So wouldn't he be excited for bringing life into this world, no matter what avenue it was to bring that life into the world? That was what I felt peace with at night, is like laying down that the Lord is pleased with me because I am helping bring his children into the world for his children. Like that is where I'm at. And kind of with like your husband, your spouse, is like sharing your heart behind it and why you're doing it. People will understand. And at first they may not, but guess what? This is between you and the Lord. Like this decision to do this is between you and him. You answer to him in heaven, you don't answer to somebody else. And if you're sharing your heart on why you're doing it, they may not fully agree with you, but they'll like have a little bit of understanding and somewhat support you. But just know not everyone's gonna agree with it. Just read my comments and you'll know not everyone's on board with it. But yeah, that's a tough one just because of the process of IVF and everything. But ultimately just it's between you and God. And if you feel, you're in right and you have a peace about moving forward with it, then go with it.
I think that's one of the many things that, is so great about you is that you are
Mhm.
just kind of firm in who you are and what you believe. And, when you have people and you're in the public light, like you have a lot of followers. And so there will be people that are naysayers.
Mhm.
And you've got naysayers, as that love
Yes.
to just stir the pot and cause the drama. And
Yep.
really don't engage because you know who you are, you know what your
Mhm.
intentions are, you know that you're an ethical
Yeah.
person, and that you're doing work that feels good in the world. And
Yeah.
at the end of the day, that's what matters.
Yeah, and if someone is diehard, like they're not going to change their mind on their stance of surrogacy or of you not doing it, no matter nothing you say is going to convince them. And so you're just hurting yourself and wasting your time and energy by trying to convince them because just as a person, they're not going to be changed. So I
Yeah,
just move on.
perfect. Yeah. Oh, okay, good. So you finished your first batch of questions. Okay, so my batch of questions are not nearly as fun. They're
Very important though.
they're basic requirements and qualifications for surrogacy. So multiple people wanted to know like age range and BMI and do you have to be married? So age range is generally, I would say 22 to 39-ish, even though you can be a little bit older than 39, especially
Mhm.
if you've already done a surrogacy and you've got really good records, they'll approve you, but that's kind of generally the range. It can be a little harder to match and get going if you're real young, like 22, 23, even though you can be a super, responsible, mature person
Mhm.
at that age, but a lot of parents that are looking for a surrogate, they might prejudge you based off being really young and think, oh, she's not going to have the mindset to do something so important, which is too
Mhm.
bad because you probably could, but
Mhm.
I'm just saying it'll probably be harder to match if you're very, very young. So BMI, unfortunately, agencies, they don't make those decisions. That's the doctor.
Mhm.
And the reason the doctors have the cutoff around BMI, which is usually a BMI of 33 or below, but honestly, the closer you can get your BMI to like 30 or below, the better, because The reason the doctors are so strict about it is because the medications, there's some studies that show they're not as effective on higher BMI. And when you're looking to do surrogacy, you're looking for someone that's as healthy as possible with a pristine medical record. So, you might be a great candidate, but you might get passed over only if
Yeah.
the BMI is not there. So, you know, try to work on it, even though I know that BMI scale is also very annoying because some people can be very tall and they're, big bones and that throws off the BMI, but it is what it is.
Yeah.
Okay, married, you do not have to be married. We just want to know, do you have support in your life? You
Yeah.
don't have to have a partner, but do you have family around? Like who can watch your children while you travel to appointments? So that's why it's not necessarily about being married, but it's about your support system.
Mhm.
And then multiple people asked about, can you do it if you had a C-section or your tubes tied? So C-section, yes, but not too many C-sections.
Mhm.
So a lot of these are, you can have this, but not too much of this, or you
Yeah.
can have that, but not too little of that. So that's why I'm saying, if you're interested, go to makefamilies.com. There's a quiz on there. You can take the qualification quiz, or you can fill out an application, and then we'll get back to you, like if you qualify or not. Because a lot of times, you can imagine there's psychological things. It's a big deal. You're signing up to have a baby.
Yeah.
So there's a lot
Yeah.
of ways you might not qualify, but you might. So it's hard to kind of go through everything verbatim on this chat. So those are some overviews.
Yes.
Tubal, yes, actually, you can have your tube size and definitely be a surrogate because you're not using your eggs, right? So no problem at all if you've had your tubes cut or tied, none of that. I know you were about to have your tubes tied and you're thinking about a surrogacy. I love that you just put the secret out
Oh my
there. I don't know
gosh.
if people didn't see that, but
Always
out of the bag.
daily talk, daily conversation now.
The tubes are intact. The
They
eggs are
are.
there could be either a keeper pregnancy or a
Yep.
surrogate pregnancy. We never know with
Stay
Sam.
tuned. Nobody ever knows with us.
Love it. Okay, let me see where all my questions answered from my section. Oh, people asked about being a surrogate in states like Nebraska. So the reason that some of the states we typically advise against, well, some of them it's downright still illegal, which is really annoying. Like,
Crazy. Yeah.
yeah, like Louisiana, still illegal.
Is it Michigan or?
Michigan was illegal, but however, they very recently allow compensated surrogacy in Michigan.
Oh,
Yeah,
awesome.
so we're just starting to get those Michigan ladies going, which is very exciting. But
Yeah.
yes, it's about the laws in the state. So it's not the agency's rules, not the doctor rules, it's about the laws in the state. And the lawyers that work in that state, they know those laws. And that's why we just don't want to get you in a situation where it's sticky and it's a little bit murky. So that's why we say, if you live in these states, just avoid surrogacy for now. There's not many. Thankfully, it's like 2.
Yeah.
Okay, and then the question about, do you have to be done having your own children before you become a surrogate? Well, Sam is not necessarily done.
Not necessarily, but you can answer this too, Megan. The real thing is like if something happens during pregnancy or delivery that will prevent you from having any more kids, that may just cause you to have some, I don't know, I feel like bitterness or resentment for the journey because you can't have any more children. So it's recommended that have your children that you want prior to. That way, nothing happens that would prevent you from having, more if you do want that. But it's not to say that you can't go have more, but
it's not a lot. You can definitely,
yeah.
actually, like some of these single mamas out there, like maybe they had one child. You do have to have a child of your own.
Yes.
That is a law. Well, I don't know.
Yes. I know it's a law, but it's like fertility doctors need to know that your body is capable of having a baby.
Yes. But, some of these single moms, like they had a baby and then maybe their partner, they broke up or they're divorced and they are single and it's a great time in their life to actually do a surrogacy journey, bring some money in for their family, and they meet a new partner later and he wants to have a family and they're excited to restart that. How can you predict the future?
Yeah.
So, I've helped a lot of single mamas do a surrogacy and then they had a partner and remarried and they had more children, which was great. Who am I to tell them you're not allowed to,
Yeah, yeah.
Like, they're adults, they can make the decision that's right for them, just
Yeah.
knowing, and the psychologist will go over that too. Like, these are the things to make sure you thought about, that if you somehow did damage your internal organs from a
Mhm.
pregnancy, which no pregnancy is risk-free. A surrogacy is
Yeah.
a regular pregnant, there's small
Mhm.
risks, but usually it's fine, but there are some risks. We just want to make sure you go into it fully knowledgeable of this
Yeah.
decision making.
Yeah, definitely. While we're on this, and it may be a question further down, but isn't there with fertility doctors, is it something about like 6 pregnancies? You can't
Yeah,
have more.
so the ASRM guidelines is that you can have 5 pregnancies and still qualify. So you can have a 6th pregnancy as your surrogate pregnancy.
Mhm.
However, the caveat is um, not all doctors are the same. And
Mhm.
some doctors will approve more pregnancies, especially if
Okay.
are pristine, like they're all vaginal births and really, really good deliveries.
Yeah.
Or you've done surrogacies before, like they'll approve you for multiple surrogacy journeys. So
Mhm.
that line's a little bit more of a gray area, but
Yeah.
generally, yes, up to 5.
Yeah.
And then your 6th one can be a surrogacy, and then that's the cutoff zone.
Okay. Good to know. I get that question.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, so next one, how long does a journey usually take? It varies depending on so many different things. Does the intended parents have embryos ready? Did you have a successful transfer the first time, or do you have to do multiple transfers? For me, for my first journey, we matched with our intended parents in July. It was like July 4th, actually. And then I delivered that next July on the 24th. So it was right over a year. First transfer worked. And then with Jake and Kenzie, we matched with them in like April. We had our Zoom call. I transferred in November and then I had Belly Bud in July. So that was like just over a year and a few months. So I would say typical is about year and a half. Sometimes you hear it taking a couple years, I think with failed transfers or stuff like that, then or embryo creation or testing that it will take longer. But is that pretty average for
Yeah.
what you see?
Your 2 journeys are very average. So like from match to being ready to transfer the embryo, I'd like to say 3 to 5 months. Because
Yeah.
you have to get medically cleared and your legal contracts.
Yeah.
So 3 to 5 months, and then of course the pregnancy is about 10 months.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah. And then after that, then I mean you're still under contract for a couple months, but
yeah.
from matching, yeah, matching to deliver about a year or a
Mhm.
little over. Do you typically get matched with a family in the same state? No, although you can choose to, it just may take longer depending on, what family what IPs are available. But with Make Families, now with being connected to multiple agencies have couples in different states. That's a possibility. But I always say like we always said we were willing to travel. I mean, you have to be willing to travel to like fertility clinics or whatever, but we always open it up that like the intended parents could come and be a part of our appointment. And I feel like that's pretty normal for, for surrogates to allow so that the parents can be a part of it. But no, they don't have to. Another question I get is, do you have to be in the same state as the agency that you're with? No. So Megan is in California. I'm in Missouri. All we do is like text and have Zoom calls and phone calls. Like that's it. Like I don't have to go there unless I want to, or they don't have to, it's just all over the phone or email. What is the hardest part about being a surrogate? Oh, I feel like everyone always asks this question, but I'm like, the needles, like for me, maybe was like the shots, but also it wasn't the worst. Like I'm afraid of needles too, and I don't like them, but it wasn't even that bad. It's for 12 weeks or not 12 weeks. It's like 8 weeks. Well, depending on how many shots you have, but like after that, for me, it was great. So, but also my body handles pregnancy so far really well that I don't know what's the hardest part. You know what? I guess I'll say this. I think the hardest part, at least I realized it a lot this journey too, is the mental or the weight that you carry of wanting everything to be perfect for the parents. Like that is a huge weight that you carry and it's nothing that you can really control. I mean, as long as you're like following your doctor's protocols and your medication, everything, that the journey is going to end up in play out how it will, but
Mhm.
you wanting everything to go well for the parents can wear on you at times, because there were times where I'm like, I didn't feel well, or like I was nervous about beta, and like wanting everything to be okay for the parents, and it can be a lot emotionally. So having a supportive friends and family, and for me it was the Lord, like just praying that like everything would be okay, that kind of is wearing on you. But I wouldn't say it's hard. That's life, there's you walk through that mental weight of like raising your children, or like starting a new job, or like moving, that it's just all mental. I don't know.
Well, anytime you're doing something emotionally
Yeah.
important and
Yeah.
bringing a baby into the world for someone who couldn't do it otherwise, that's such a big deal. How
Yeah.
could you not feel the weight of that decision and how much
Mhm.
care it took for you to sign up for that? I mean, don't they say like grief is love lost? Like you wouldn't have the nervousness about it if it wasn't such a big deal, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Let's see. What tips do you give for intended parents during this journey? I loved having like Jake and Kenzie just check in on me and support me in like just relationally. That to me means the most. Not everyone is as I guess open as me and desires that open relationship, but if your surrogate does, reach out to her. Say, "Hey, we're thinking about you. Hey, are you," like, they DoorDashed me a salad one time because I was, like, craving something. Like, that spoke volumes to me and just made me feel so loved, so appreciated, that, yes, you're getting your surrogate's getting compensated for the journey, but it's more for me, it's more than that. It's more than financial. Like, for me, it's the relationship and them being present, even though they can't physically be here, but just mentally and emotionally being present for me meant a lot. And so I encourage all like intended parents just to be present as much as they can for their surrogate.
Mhm. And
So
it's hard for them too because,
Mm.
usually they have trauma. Well, most
Yes.
of them have trauma, like,
Yes.
you know,
Yes.
so they're like, "Oh my gosh, I'm so nervous about this heartbeat ultrasound coming up because of what happened when I had so
Yeah. You're there for each other, honestly. Like, there were times where, like, Kinsey called me one time, and I know she wouldn't mind me saying this. It was, like, 11 weeks or whatever, and she was like, "I'm just having a really hard day. Can you just, like, listen to the baby on, like, the little Doppler?" And I was like, "Absolutely." Like, we were able to share that moment together, and it's like she was having a hard time, and I'm sure she's gone through so many things that she didn't even tell me those hard days, but her being strong for me meant so much, and it allowed me to be strong for her. That yeah, that I mean, that's a good point too, because all of the intended parents are coming from some sort of loss or hurt, pain, grief, that it may be really hard to set that aside and give the attention to their surrogate, because they wish that was them. They wish they were in those positions.
yeah.
But also our heart too is that we wish you were in this position too,
Yeah.
but since you can't, like, we're thankful to do this with you and to go through this with you.
Yeah.
So
Great words of advice.
yes, I'm getting all emotional, like, thinking back to everything. Oh, and
Oh.
then I just wanna be pregnant again. Oh, so funny.
Okay, I think
Okay.
it's my section, right? Okay.
Yes.
How do you choose a reputable agency? What should you look for? Well, there is a website called seedsethics.org, and Seeds is an ethical organization that it does conferences every year, and agencies have to abide by these standards in order to be a member. And the standards are good. They're, solid things that are, treating their surrogates right, paying them a right amount, um, not doing shady business practices. So if they're a seeds agency, that's a good start. Um,
Mhm.
Make families agencies are ethical. We
Yes.
we check for that, and if we catch wind of anything that's not ethical, we kick them out. Like we're not gonna send them great
Yeah.
service. So, what makes them reputable? Um,
I'll speak from mine. Like, whenever we first pursued surrogacy in 2018, I had the movie of Baby Mama as a reference and nothing else like regarding surrogacy. So I literally Googled like surrogacy agencies in Colorado, because we were in Colorado at the time, and I found three different ones. I can't remember the names of them now, but I called each one and I like filled out an application for one. One didn't ever answer or call me back. The second one, the lady was very rude on the phone, and like I just didn't feel comfortable with them. And then the third one, ended up being really sweet. We did the in-home visit and we like started our journey. But then that's a different story for a different day. But for me, it was which one did I feel like a connection with and feel because yes, it's just like choosing intended parents. You're on this journey with intended parents for a year. You better make sure you guys can, have conversation and get along. That's a relationship, but it's also a relationship with your agency. Like I just was messaging Sarah with YFA the other day. She was my like surrogate coordinator. And I was like, thank you so much for just being there, for like being so attentive to my journey, for like taking my calls and like just checking in on me. Like that for me made me feel so loved and appreciative and cared for, and like just seen and heard, that it made me feel like good about, being in a like going through your agency. And so it's like where you feel loved and like you
Yeah.
don't want someone grouchy like taking care of you or like
Yeah.
checking on you, you know.
I'm actually amazed at how many people will say that you know, did an interview with a different agency and I didn't get good vibes from them.
Yeah.
I'm like, wow, like these are women that are gonna have a baby for someone. Like, why would
Yeah.
an agency not be like so,
Yeah. Like, oh my gosh, we're so
thankful and
excited. Yeah.
kind and like gracious to these people? Like, it
Yes.
blows my mind.
Yeah.
So, go by your gut. Do that,
Mhm.
do a call with them, do a few calls with different agencies.
Yeah.
But at Make Families, if we place you with an agency and you don't actually get that good vibes, whatever that might be with your specific personality, you can just let us know and we will match you with a different agency. No hard feelings. Like it's about finding the right fit for what you want
Mhm.
your journey to look like.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Okay, how long is the intake qualification process before you can be matched? Okay, great question there. So you will do an interview. You will need to have your records, all your medical records collected and reviewed. And that one is the thing that can take some time
Yeah.
because like, let's say you had 4 pregnancies, you've had 4 different OBs potentially and 4 different delivery
Track
hospitals,
them
especially,
down.
yeah, if you moved around. So we've got as your agency to go collect them all. And some
Mhm.
of these offices are slow and we got to call them and say, did we faxed in the HIPAA? Did you send us? So I would say from as a rough school, estimate, I would just say 6 weeks fastest
Yeah.
from applying to being matched.
Yeah. It
Yeah,
goes faster if you can download the records from your portal. So, pro tip.
that's a good tip, but I would say, and not that I think anyone
Sure.
on this call would ever do this,
Yeah.
but some agencies are like, I'm sorry, we won't accept records directly from the surrogate. We need to,
Oh, okay.
because there's some, just like there's some unethical agencies, there's some
That makes
unethical
sense.
surrogates that
That's very
like
true.
fudge some records. We don't want any of that. So
Yeah,
that, I've
that
never
makes
seen it happen, but some agencies have that rule, which isn't a bad rule,
sense. Yeah. Yeah.
But anyway. Okay, do you choose who you're a surrogate for, or are you placed at random? So I think you should absolutely choose who you want to be a surrogate for. Absolutely. And I hope the agency you're working with shows you a couple different options. And I hope that you wait till you feel that heart connection. That's what we tell the surrogates in our program,
Yeah.
because that's going to set you up for a good experience. And there's someone for everyone out there. So
Yeah.
I at Make Families, we don't really work with any agencies that are like, you're ready to match. Here's next on the list. Put your
Yeah.
kids together. Like that, I don't think is good matching. I think it's just so many factors at play. They should get to know your personality and your desires and set you, show you profiles of parents who they think could be a good fit for you. At
Hmm.
our agency, we try to like get it right pretty quickly so we don't have to send them a bunch of different profiles, and it feels
Yeah.
overwhelming. We did things a little differently when we searched for Jake and Kinsey because we had that contest, which if anyone's on here, I have a lot of parents asking, when are you searching for, like when are you
Yes.
announcing who our next Blessed with the Baby surrogate is? Coming very soon. This was a weird month because we all thought TikTok was going to be gone. And I was like, well,
Right.
shoot. But
Yes.
I mean, we're close to announcing who that's going to be.
Yes.
And then as soon as we announce her, then we can do a search for the parents we're going to match her with. So
Yes.
that's all coming up in 2025.
I
Yeah.
can't wait. So
Yeah.
fun.
All right. Your turn. We're doing good on time. I have this.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
All right. So now talking about finances, probably where a lot of questions are. How does payment for surrogacy work? And Megan, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but you have a base compensation, but then you also have you're compensated for you get like a monthly allowance, your maternity clothing, usually after heartbeat confirmation, or not heartbeat confirmation. It's like a certain months, weeks.
Yeah. Yeah. Usually
You'll
like
get
12 weeks that you get
there you
every,
go. Once
yeah.
you start growing,
Mhm.
but you'll get like a clothing allowance closer to like delivery if you're on bed rest and you need like housekeeping or childcare. There's like any cost associated to the journey will be covered. Prescription, medication, copays, stuff like that will. With your base compensation, you'll get it in installments. So after heartbeat confirmation, you'll get like the first installment, and then every month it's another one.
Mhm.
I didn't take
That's
compensation this past journey, so I'm like trying to think back to like my other journey. And then every month you'll be paid. And then at the end, if you deliver a little bit early, you'll get the last chunk of it at the end after delivery. But yeah, because some surrogates are like, do I have to cover anything? No, anything pertaining to the journey will be covered by the
Mhm.
intended parents.
Yeah, we
Um,
like to say you should only be earning money for what you're doing and not
yeah,
ever spending your own money.
yeah,
But that being said, the caveat to that is sometimes there's a few things that you might have to like prepay for, like a
mm,
taxi ride to get you from the airport
yes,
to the hotel. Like, how
yeah,
could we have prepaid that for you? So you do that,
yes.
save your receipt, and then submit it to your agency. Yeah.
Yes.
Mhm.
And having like your agency to go through escrow or whatever, it's like direct deposited. There's no like transactions between the intended parents, which is great because then it keeps that relationship very relational and not like transactional with money. You don't want to be like, hey, where's my check for this month? There's none of that. It is like
Yeah.
it's all handled for you.
Yeah.
What medical expenses are covered? So like I said, prescription copays, your procedures. A lot of times at the hospital, or at least my doctor did this, like I would show up for my appointment, they'd be like, okay, the appointment is $400. And they're like, how would you like to pay today? And I'm like, can you just bill me? Because then I like don't pay ahead of time. They will bill you and then like the escrow will pay for it or whatever. But I tell my office up front, like, hey, this is a surrogacy, and they know that it's a surrogacy journey once you tell them. But typically they'll know, oh, okay, it's billed and escrow takes care of it. So, but like Megan said, if you have to submit your receipts or whatever, then you'll just get reimbursed for it. Who pays for expenses like doctor's appointments? Kind of touched on that already. Um, are there additional things that you can do to increase compensation? Oh, yes, breast milk. I mean, in the journey, if you have twins, there's extra right there. If you
All you
happen
gotta
to,
do is split that embryo
right?
inside, no biggie.
If you want to magically split the embryo and have twins, there's generally another increase in compensation there. If you happen to have a C-section, you're compensated a little bit more just for what your body has to go through. If you happen to like lose your
I wouldn't
fallopian tube.
recommend doing a C-section for an extra
Oh
buck.
no, absolutely not. I've never had a C-section, but I definitely would not do that. That's
Yeah.
like just if it happens,
Yeah.
hey, sorry you had to go through this. Here's this.
Yeah.
But yeah, after the journey with breast milk, a lot of intended parents will be interested in having the milk for their baby after, and that's something that you guys can talk about when you're doing contracts to decide, is this something you would want? If you do want the breast milk postpartum, what would you be willing to pay for a week of pumping?
Mhm.
And typically your agency will have an amount. Is 200 a week, is that average?
That's pretty average. Yeah.
Okay.
200 a week. Yeah.
Yeah,
But
and
just,
then
along the lines of breast milk, especially since you were so amazing at it, is that,
mm,
breast milk and pumping is a lot of work.
yeah,
And maybe, you can never like write it in the contract where the parents expect it of you.
yeah,
That is
yeah,
something you wait and see how you feel in the moment. And if you're up to it and you want to provide, awesome. But if you're like, you know what, no, that was kind of a rough delivery. I'm not feeling this. No one
yeah,
will hold it to you that you have to
no.
do breast milk.
Yeah, I want to say in our contract, like I think we did talk about that at first, and
Yeah.
then they just decided to go the goat milk formula route, which I was actually thankful because I was like, I don't know if my body will produce, like,
Yeah.
and like you
Yeah.
said, sometimes you're tired after
Yeah.
and you're like, I don't know how this is gonna go. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
but yeah, if pumping afterward is another great source of income if you do want to continue earning.
Mhm.
All right, medical and insurance. These are important ones.
Oh, yes. Okay. Are these back to me? Oh, yeah. That's
Yes.
the ones. Okay. Do I have to have specific insurance for surrogacy? Yes, you do. And here's the caveat is that when you get started, on a journey. If you have insurance, either your own personal plan, like through your employer or your husband's plan or something like that, we will check that insurance, we meaning your agency,
Mhm.
and we will check it by working with an insurance broker that specializes in knowing how to check these plans, because you know those documents are thick and the fine print
Yes.
is small. So they'll do a deep dive and look at your insurance documents, and we're checking to make sure there's no sentences in there that says, if she's acting as a surrogate, we will deny her coverage, because maybe you believe it or not, you probably do
Yeah.
believe it, because insurance in the US is a nightmare. But yes, they will discriminate, some of these companies, and they will not pay your bills if they figure out you're a surrogate. So we can't
Yeah.
take any risk of that, obviously. So we check your plan carefully. If your plan has language like that, then we will get the parents on a different plan. We'll have them, well, not the parents, but we'll get you on a different plan that the parents will
Mhm.
pay for.
Yeah.
So that will be a surrogacy friendly plan. The marketplace ACA is open in the fall, and that's when we can get you on a different plan. So sometimes, depending on when you're going to get pregnant, we will plan your journey so that it lines up for ACA enrollment and when you can start on a surrogacy friendly plan if you didn't happen to have one already.
Mhm. Yeah.
Yeah. So you already had surrogacy friendly insurance, which was
Yeah.
awesome, through
I just kept
ACA.
mine. Yeah, I
Yeah.
just kept mine from my other journey and then just paid for the premium by myself because I knew I wanted to do another one right away.
Yeah.
And then so they just took over the payments.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, great question. How does insurance work? We kind of answered that. What would I need as a surrogate? We answered that. What does the IP's insurance cover? So the IP's personal insurance will cover their baby,
Mhm.
but not your delivery. So that's why we
Yeah.
have two things at play. You're going to need a plan to cover your delivery and your OB bills and things like that. And the IP's insurance covers their baby, and the hospital stay only for their baby.
Mhm.
And then hopefully the IPs have insurance to cover IVF, making embryos and things like that. But a lot of that's not covered by insurance, and that's
Mhm.
usually cash pay. That's why this is all really expensive for parents.
Yeah. Yeah. And then
Unfortunately.
the surrogate insurance will last 3 months after delivery. And so that'll take care of any postpartum care that you have or any procedures you have after. And then after that, and you cancel the policy, you can pick up your own insurance again or continue paying.
Yep. So if they needed to buy you a plan, it's
Mhm.
pretty standard to put in the legal contract that they have to cover that plan for at least 12 weeks postpartum, and longer if there was any sort of complication and you needed some sort of medical care for
Yeah.
some reason.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. When do you transition from the fertility clinic to a regular OB? That's such a great question. That makes me think that someone in here is like a surrogate before. I want to
Right.
see like a raise of hands. Like, who's paying attention? Is there any former surrogates in the that is attending right now? We are sorry that the chat's not letting you put your questions live. I kind of thought that was going to happen. Oh, I see some hands going up. We do have some experienced ladies in there. Not as many as I thought though, which is good. So a lot of newbies learning. I love this. Okay, so fertility clinic will see you till you're about 10-ish weeks pregnant,
Mhm.
and then you graduate to be seen by your regular OB after that.
Mhm.
That line can vary a little bit based off your OB, like how early they are okay seeing you and how
Mhm.
strong their equipment is, like how good their ultrasound machine is to catch a very itty bitty early pregnancy. Like those fertility
Yeah.
clinic ultrasounds, they can get it like 5 weeks pregnant. They can already see the little dots and everything.
Yes.
So it's going to be around the 8 to 10 week mark is when you leave the care of the fertility clinic and start seeing your regular OB.
I
Um,
think one question that like I had going into it and people asked me, so we transferred in Florida and I didn't go back to Florida for my first ultrasound. I had it at a local monitoring clinic in Springfield. And so that's an option. But some fertility clinics are really picky, and because they did the procedure, they want to see you back, which is
yeah,
just another expense on the intended parents to fly you
yeah,
back there to like have you travel. But there is the option to do it at a local monitoring clinic. So I did local monitoring clinic, I think every week until I was 8 weeks.
yeah,
And then I went to my OB. And
yeah,
then the monitoring clinic just sent my paperwork to the fertility clinic. And then we would hear from the fertility clinic, like, once they read the report and everything. But then it was less traveling.
yeah.
So
Well, we don't want the pregnant person jumping on flights and getting stressed
right.
out, like going
Right.
all over the place. So we want to make it easy on you. And
Yes.
you know, so that's why, yes, you usually have to go to the parents' fertility clinic twice, once for an in-person medical screening and once for the embryo to actually be put in your uterus. But other than that, most of the other appointments we can work out, like you said, at a place near you
Mm-hmm.
to keep you off the planes and limited travel.
Yes.
Great. Great questions, you guys. Okay, we are almost done and we are on time. I love this. Oh, this is a good question. What are the risk and side effects with medications being used for the IVF process? Okay, so the IVF medications are hormones that your body usually makes already. So estrogen, progesterone. And what you're doing is you're taking these hormones because you're tricking your body into thinking that it's getting pregnant with its own egg, but it's not, right? You're not
Yes.
ovulating your own egg. So they're going to mimic the same environment. And that's what these medications are doing, just mimicking it. So it's not like super foreign, these medications. It is the same hormones your body naturally makes, but the doctor wants your levels to be ideal, right? Because with the surrogacy, there's a lot at stake. So they're going to check your progesterone and they're going to give you progesterone to make sure it's right in the sweet spot where they want it to be. So those big shots, the ones in the butt that everyone's like, oh my gosh, the shots, those are progesterone. And those are really important, you know? Oh, you're looking for the needle?
I have my needle boxes. I just had them because I was going to record a video for Kenzie and I was going to show a needle, but
okay, yeah,
they're in
yeah.
my bathroom.
I don't have them handy. Yeah, those are progesterone. Progesterone is really important. So would I say that, what are the risks and the side effects? Oh, there you go. Bring them up, bring them up. And I will say, I am
There we
such
go.
like blood draws. I hate blood draws. They hurt me so bad. But the shots, I don't know, like they're worse in your mind than they are in real life. Like just a tiny little prick when it goes into your skin kind of hurts, but like it's a big needle, but it doesn't actually hurt in the butt muscle. You
Yeah.
can't really
Sometimes it
feel
like
it.
stings. Sometimes
Yeah.
it stings, but honestly, like some people ice, some people don't.
Yeah.
I have a couple YouTube episodes on like how like what helped us to do it, but you get over it. There's
Yeah.
sometimes where they do hurt, and sometimes I'm like, oh, that's fine. But
Yeah.
massaging it out, I still have knots from both my journeys, but that's just part of it. So you get a
Yeah.
lingering reminder of the amazing thing you did.
Yeah.
But there's icing
Well,
it helps or massaging it.
yeah. And like as far as risk, it's really not that long that you're taking these
Yeah.
hormones. You only take them in the beginning of the pregnancy to prepare your body and while you get pregnant. And the doctors keep you on it for a little while in the beginning just to make sure your body has registered that, oh, it's pregnant. I need to make my own progesterone. So you're taking them for like 8 weeks, maybe a little
Yeah.
longer if your doctor wants it different. And then it's done. And you're
Yeah.
like any other pregnancy. So it's not really a big, I wouldn't say it's high risk. I really
Yeah.
wouldn't, you know.
I mean, for what you need it for, so that the baby can grow, like
Yeah.
the pro outweighs the con.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think it's very minimal risk. And
Yeah.
I think people are a little bit more like fear mongering out there where they're like, oh, all this extreme risk and all that, you know, I don't know. I just feel like they do it for clicks and views.
Yeah.
And
Well,
just,
there's risks to everything nowadays, like eating
yeah.
Skittles, like you're eating
Yep.
food dye, or like, driving down the car or driving down the
Yeah.
road that.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, so you guys, we actually, yeah, we are right on time. We've been
Look at
chatting for an
us.
hour. I know. We covered all of your main ones. So we'll do this every month. So submit
Yeah.
again if we didn't get to your question this month. But now we need to should we tell them what the raffle is? Because I have
Yes.
a name that I see who stayed on the whole time.
Look at you.
That, yeah, I was like, any, mini, miny, mo. And I think
So
this would be,
exciting.
yeah,
Yes. So we are going to do a sweatshirt that says in my surrogate era. I have one that I think it says, hi, it's me. I'm the surrogate. It's me. But we
yeah.
figured Taylor Swift era is going on right now.
Okay, so the winner of our raffle for this month is Shannon Turley. So I
Yay.
hope that you're able to hear this and raise your hand. I guess we should have been careful that people were, let's see. She raised her hand. Okay.
Yay, Shannon.
Very
I was going to say, you have her email address, right?
Yep. We can track down her info and make sure she gets the sweatshirt. So you guys,
Perfect.
thank you for joining tonight. Thank you for submitting all these super thoughtful questions. thank you for wanting to help people have their babies. My gosh, like, I mean, it's an incredible calling on your life,
Yeah.
and it's a gift, and it's so rewarding, and it's gonna. I like to say that it's one of the things, like Sam, you would know, but I think it's one of the things that you're most proud of doing in your life. Like
Yeah.
having your own children, it's like,
Yeah. 100%.
yeah.
Yeah,
So
seeing, like getting pictures for Kenzie and just spending time with her and, like, seeing how happy she is, like, brings so much joy to my life that I'm like, it's so fulfilling, so rewarding. You
yeah,
can't even put it into words.
yeah,
It's
yeah.
amazing.
So ladies, you're next. Thank you
Yay!
for joining, and we will see you next month if you want to see us next month. Bye
Yes.
guys.
We'll see you. Have a good night.